Hello, gentlemen. This is Reviving Real News. Back with you guys again. I decided to go ahead and do this today, even though I really wasn't going to. But I have a couple reasons why I'm going to do it today. I was listening to a couple people, but specifically one person's content. I do know this person. I do. I do know them. I speak to them. Like in real life, I've spoken to this person. And just hearing some of this stuff that I guess I missed or somehow never saw it in my feeds or whatever. I'm glad that I'm kind of saying what I'm saying because this guy has never told me this stuff when we've interacted with each other or spoken, person to person. So I was unaware. I also was unaware that there were some individuals that I have interacted with or briefly had conversations with in comments or live chats that have serious, burdens and stuff like I do, but don't know how to navigate this. Don't know how to deal with the assistance, the housing, the homelessness, and then the employment and the financials. Bro, I'm glad that this morning the weather was pretty bad where I live. Kind of, really, really wet and cold. I love the cold. I'm glad it's cold now and not sticky jungle weather. But that kind of made me, kind of have to change my morning and what I needed to do today. So I just been listening and catching up on stuff. And some of the things I heard this dude saying in some of the comments, I was like, you know what? I'm glad I'm doing this. Now I know why certain people were saying what they were saying to me. It is becoming apparently obvious to me. More and more people don't know what to do or how to do it because don't know what he's talking about, what I talk about or say what I'm saying. Let alone are any men sharing knowledge on how to survive or how to navigate this. And I don't care where you live, whether it's a small rural whatever or it's a big urban metropolis, city, what have you. It doesn't matter because the struggles are the same. You can put whatever coats of paint on it, but it's still the same thing. So I am glad that I'm doing this. And it kind of reserves a little bit of bitterness or hesitation I had to continue doing this or saying what I'm going to say. But, bro, I think you know who you are. I didn't have a clue of this, dude. You didn't never tell me any of this. From the bottom of my heart, brother. I understand and I know. I do. Everything I heard you say and everything I read in them comments, dude, I went through and done this stuff when I was a kid. I was a kid. I have a good idea how old your son is. So you add about 9 to 11 years on that individual's age, and that's about when this stuff started to happen to me. So I understand everything that I read and heard. I understand it all about the housing, the needing help and can't get it, the wanting to dabble toes in programs and assistance. Dude, I've been doing this since I was a kid. Yeah, you dude, your age is your age, okay? But as men, we mentally in our social stuff is different than the opposite gender. So when you're 23, 24, 25, you're still immature, man. No matter how much experience it's the mental stuff and your social things that are still kind of different than I guess adults, like 30 or 40-year-old men and some women. It's different. So believe me, dude, I get it. I understand. I understand all of this. I also, gentlemen, I want to clear up a couple things from yesterday. I want to be very adamant and transparent about I did leave some time jumps in my timeline. I don't want people thinking this stuff was all rapid fire and I didn't have whatever. Look, there was a good stretch of a year and a half where I couldn't make any payments. I was honest with you guys. I was bouncing from house to house, from couch to couch, from situation to situation because I didn't want to be homeless. And I didn't know how to navigate. Back then, at the time, I didn't know how to navigate anything. I did it. And I still did not have a lot of control over my biology and the temptations, that we are constantly surrounded by. I don't mean drugs and alcohol. I'm talking like the female stuff. Uh, I do want to be transparent about that. There were time jumps. There's things I didn't disclose because one of my living situations is I'm going to keep that private because the people that were involved, to this day, I still remember that woman. It was a girl that I was messing with, her family. And I was closer in age to the people giving me help than I was the girl I was messing with. And I respect her to this day for what she did for me. And the woman basically said some of the stuff was only happening because of me. She didn't really care for her own family member because of her actions, her choices, and all those things. So I kept a lot of that stuff out of it. But I just want to be transparent. I'm owning up to my mistakes. Ultimately, of course, I know that I had to pay and I had to do whatever. But again, I didn't want to be homeless. I didn't know how to navigate anything. I didn't know any of my rights. I didn't know anything because nobody tells you nothing. They don't care. They don't have to tell you anything. That way, you're still in the system and they can keep coming at you until you either disappear or they make you disappear. You know what I'm saying without using the words because of this retarded platform? But I want to be transparent about all of that. Like, there was time jumps. I did miss things. And yeah, like I said, I was ordered on probation. I was ordered on felony probation, adult supervised probation, 5 years. So, as I was saying to you in the previous video towards the end, I did have a time jump. And when that situation, that situation ended, is how I got towards the end of my video. The girl I was messing with knew some people that needed help, and the male of that household needed some help with his side business, so I whatever with that opportunity. And during that opportunity, I was on the adult supervision. And my father got sick in all of this. And that is pretty much the end. And then I'm going to get into what happens right after that. And that's going to be the homeless and my whole learning everything now. After my dad died, when I left where I was staying, that's when I learned everything. This is the real R-rated, X-rated, hardcore. This is it right here, guys. I kind of been giving little details and kind of just building up to what gets to what to kind of give you guys an understanding of how the child support is so different for somebody when you're 24, 25, 23 than it is for somebody in their 30s or 40s. I was a kid. I didn't have anything already established at all. So I had no idea how to navigate anything, nor did I know anything about assistance or any of this stuff. I knew how to navigate nothing or do anything. And also, the homeless experience I told you about and then being in that shelter, gentlemen, was the worst experience that I personally had with the homelessness, because that place was only a limited time. They throw you, and I also want to be transparent. When I reflect back on that place was all about turnover. I mean, they did search your stuff. They constantly checked your eyes, your breath. They watched your body language. They were constantly putting men out, constantly doing it. This place did not offer housing programs unless you were a beta, you know what. And I'm talking like docile. I mean docile to where you'd go scrape the gum off the secretary's shoes. Then they would put you in these apartments that they built or they bought and all this nonsense. But it was worse than being in prison or worse than being on probation. Because these people had keys to your house, come in, do whatever they want, tell you how to eat, how to cook, how to dress, how to take a shower. Nah, I wasn't. I do remember this, and I do remember not even thinking about that stuff because wasn't no woman coming and telling me what to do at 7 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't nobody walking in my house or my apartment at 8:30 in the morning telling me to get up. I don't care. I just don't believe in certain things like that because that's not being a man. And I don't have issues that a lot of these people in these situations do, and that's called gaming the system. Like, I don't go around lying about alcohol and drugs to go get whatever. A lot of these people It's a very dangerous, gross system because a lot of the manipulation and scamming. So I'm just being transparent with you guys to set up the right tone for what's about to go on. That homeless shelter taught me nothing. The only thing I learned from that is that when you are homeless and you have the paper from an agency, a church, a shelter, or Job and Family Services, that's how you are enabled the full allotment of food stamps. You get the medical. You probably can get like bus tokens or bus passes if your town or county has those services. You can get networking to whatever, but you can't use those networking options like food and other things when you're in a shelter. You can't bring stuff into shelters. You can't. So I just wanted to be transparent about that. That was not good. I didn't learn anything from that. And I want you guys to know what's about to happen is gross. It's bad. And I still have whatever experience, thoughts and stuff from this. My father was terminal ill cancer, stage 4. I'm on adult supervised probation for my child support. I have to go through all these things while trying to find a place to sleep, food every day, a means to at least wash myself or use a bathroom. And then I get permission to leave because of the only problems I ever had in my 39, 40 years on this earth is in that county, in that city. I've never had any kind of criminal anything. I've never been involved in drugs or alcohol like that. I've never been involved in with women like that or gambling or prostitution. I don't have anything like this. I don't have any of these issues. So like, I get permission to leave and everything, and everybody knew that the only problems I've ever had is in that county and in that city. I've never had nothing go ever, so it made sense that I'd be allowed to go leave and try to further myself from these things and try to have a life. And my stupidity was trusting my family and my siblings. And it was all done under the guise because they knew I wasn't whatever with my head and my mental aspect because my father was going away. And then he did pass. I remember my sister showing up to the place I was staying and making sure, whatever, before she broke it down and told me he passed in his sleep. And that he was writing me a letter as he passed. And I shared that letter with an individual that you guys know. I did share that letter with him. I did. And I still to this day get shook to my core that my old man, the dude that I was terrified the most of, was writing that letter that he wrote to me. But it is what it is, fellas. Because what happens next is disgusting, and the people that did it to me are gross. My family did this to me, guys. The same people who tell me we need to get you out of here, you need to be away from this, and we're going to do this, and you need to have stability and be able to sleep and eat and take a shower. So I leave the situation I'm in, guys. I'm going to call this chapter is the homelessness, okay? This is the homelessness, this is the sheltering, this is everything right here. And then the other part of this chapter, I'm going to talk about this is how I find out about your money with your jobs and everything. Like, this is it. This is the nitty-gritty stuff. This is the criminal stuff. This is prison. This is homelessness. It's in order. I got to go. It's all in order, man. Let's just jump right into this. I have moved. I'm now living 3.5, 4 hours from where I was staying. I'm with my family for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, maybe month and 2 weeks at the most. And my cousin has she got family. I know this. I have several cousins that live in this place because their other bloodline relatives are from there. Okay, their blood to me is dead. Their biological mother murdered her foot in the door to my bloodlines. My dad's brother married this woman. This woman killed my dad's brother. And her biological genealogy got whatever of these kids. I did not have a clue how bad these children were. Brainwashed, feminized, the whole 9 yards. I become a victim of this. I'm the eldest in the family. I raised 3 out of 5 of these kids, because of their own situation with their dad being killed and everything. My family and my sister and I stepped up everything. And, fellas, I kid you not. Look, I know what was going on with me, and I had my own downfalls, and I had my own bad spells. But I still was doing basically what I could do mentally and physically. I was doing it. To the point where when she was screaming at me and threatening me, I did start doing the whole job thing. And gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, I was not good mentally at all. But I got a stupid job. I sure did. Like, I was shocked that I got it. I have this job set up, everything. I've got to do 2 interviews. I have to get, clothing to do this. 3 days before my second interview, it's nighttime. And I noticed there's boxes outside along the garage door, which I wasn't really thinking anything, just thinking it was weird because it was storming. Like actual thunder, lightning, real storm. And my cousin tells me I need to get dressed. We're leaving. I wasn't thinking anything of it. But I noticed some of the boxes had my writing on it, or she had wrote, so-and-so's this, so-and-so's that. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, guy, I shouldn't have cussed. This chick for that whole day behind my back had been calling agencies, including trying to find a mental institution. This woman was seriously trying to make a whatever out of my situation to turn her into a victim to get help for her nasty boyfriend and then her stupid kids. And I don't care. I was going to say stupid because, yeah, she is nasty. She has different baby dads. And she also disgraced my bloodline by going out and having biracial nonsense. I'm not racist, but I believe in preserving everybody's genealogy and bloodlines. The Lord says that you don't do these things. So I don't care. I believe in my faith and I know what's right from wrong. It's not racism to protect your genealogy and bloodlines. It's not. She was taught better. I know what she was taught. We come from the same blood. I know. This woman seriously took me and put me in literally, like she had some special arrangement worked out with this place. So yeah, dude, that's the truth, fellas. I get put in this place at 8, 9 o'clock at night. And they, you got to go through an intake. Your ID gets ran, all this. I had to take a urine test. I had to admit what would be in my system or what I knew was in my system. Everything. You got to hand over, it's crazy. Like, they're trying to tell you everything you have to. This is 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they're trying to tell me I got to be up 5:36 in the morning. Then they're giving me this whole list of what I have to do and have done by whatever time tomorrow. It's just insane. But all I'm thinking about is what can I do to get back at the person who just did this to me. I'm thinking all this stuff in my head. Not to mention I have an interview that I have to go in 40, 50 hours. All of these things are going through my head, man. And this is exactly how I learned everything right here. I ended up getting my job. Okay, so gentlemen, I was already ahead of the curve. And I don't mean no disrespect to anybody. It is what it is. It's not I'm better than nobody or whatever. It's just how it worked out. I was ahead of the game when I got checked into this shelter. And I didn't know it because I had already had employment. I did get this job. I had employment the entire time I was in this shelter. So that was one positive for me, which probably helped me with some avenues or some things because it made me look good and it also made that shelter and that staffing look good. But it was, gentlemen, I learned everything. I learned that most places, most shelters that are legitimate and whatever, you have to go get stamps. As long as you're in the shelter, you're homeless, or you're considered, I forget what term it was, but you get your food stamps. So if your state for a single person or homeless person is $2.15, you would get the full $2.15 even though you're still working and getting money because of what your living status is classified. It's not your income, It's your living status. Like, you're not a head of household. You're not living with somebody. You're homeless. Do you see what I'm trying to explain to you guys? This is things that people lie about and are not transparent about. Because I'm also about to tell you exactly what the F happened the second that I did get my own stuff straightened up and everything. Okay? You have to do a lot of these things. Like, you have to get stamps. You have to have medical insurance. You have to. You absolutely have to. You have to be on the straight and narrow. If you're going to do something that's not straight and narrow, you better do it far away. Don't let people that stay in there know. And you better make sure your P's and Q's or whatever by curfew time. You do have curfews. You have to be on a property by a certain time. Not in a bed or in a room, but like on the property. So when they do the roll call, they're at least able to, you know what I mean, visually confirm you're on the property. You have chores. You have to do chores. You have to. Or you will be kicked out and you won't be allowed back in at all. You have to maintain your hygiene. And by all means, they give you hygiene. You need to. You need to make sure you wash your booty. Brush your teeth, man. Brush your teeth. Brush your teeth and deodorant, man. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell whatever about a shower, because a lot of men in these predicaments aren't the greatest guys, or they aren't the most whatever with their mental makeup. So you can't expect a lot. You can't. That's the other thing that I had to be humbled real quick, was that a lot of these people don't have the whatever, so I had to be humbled in my expectations or my living expectations. It's the truth. Like, you learn a lot. You see a lot of different backgrounds of people. You also see a lot of people trying to pull the scam maneuvers. Case in point, you'll have dudes that'll pop up to whatever the shelter situation, be homeless, but they're faking it. They got a girlfriend or a wife, and they're trying to game the system to get better housing or to have a second housing thing. I know all these little scams and everything. I learned it all, man, because when you open your mouth, you don't see or hear anything. But when you sit back and let people assume you're a loser and a nobody and you have no intelligence or you have no social skills, you observe and hear any and everything possible. Little pro tip, guys. It's better to let people assume stuff than open your mouth and let people know. But this place, gentlemen, this shelter, I don't mind saying it because it's a world well-known organization. This one was done by St. Vincent de Paul. These guys were good, man. This specific one, they had their own food pantry, their own clothing store, their own furniture store, and you also had the opportunity to work and volunteer. And gentlemen, I'm not going to play. It was beneficial, because I don't volunteer and it wasn't like really free. Like, you volunteered and you were, you're legitimate. You just weren't somebody trying to go hide somewhere and sleep, or someone trying to be smoking a cigarette every 10 minutes. They gave you credit to their stores, which when you're homeless or you have child support, having a credit or vouchers to like clothing or furniture. And I want to be very clear about this. Okay. It's a potluck when it comes to the clothes. You have to know what you're doing to get like legitimate real clothes that are not used, or to get stuff that is not going to be one or two uses and it's it. And then the longer I was there and the more I started to understand and do things, I did make connections, specifically people who took the intakes. So over time, I did get connections and I would get dibs on certain things. Certain things, though, people in the shelters are not allowed to because of the price of it, and because you're in a homeless shelter. Why do you need these things when you're in a homeless shelter? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can't go get no whatever speaker boxes or home theater or flat screen TVs from this store and going right across the grass back to the shelter. They're going to kick you out. Or they're going to tell you to take it back and exchange it for something, whatever. Like, you just don't do certain things like that. But to have the clothing access and then like the furniture access for when you leave is invaluable. Because I am here to tell you that's one of the biggest things to survive, fellas, when you go through the child support and you really don't have no family or friends or people who care. people who care to help when it comes to these things that you have to live. That is right there the kicker, because there's a lot of people who they're weird about clothes. Like in my experience doing this, gentleman, since 2013 with this, because I know when my dad died, because it kind of correlates to something my father and I were that was something special to him and myself, something he taught me as a kid. It happened that fall. My dad died in the summer, and then the thing I'm talking about happened in the fall, so I know what year this was. Those things are invaluable, man. It is invaluable to have those kind of resources, or the networking, to have people throw away, or people will go buy an $80 shirt and forget they bought it. Or so-and-so will have the same thing and they just won't want to be like them or be thrown into the category. People will give it to these places. You guys would be amazed. Screw the stigmatism and who cares? As long as you ain't going around and being whatever, or buying something that smells bad and got holes in it. If you got the patience, man, and you can sift for 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to go find $400 of designer or whatever clothes, or Carhartts, Dickies. You're going to go find Field and Stream. You're going to find all these things brand new with the tags, the everything. And you're going to spend probably $10 of your money and then $70 of your credit or your voucher for $470 worth of clothes. Does it work like that every time? No. But again, you have to learn it, and it's patience. But this shelter, besides having the access to the clothing, the hygiene, and for the furniture when you possible things, you are required to do housing. Which, like I told you previously, the other shelter was garbage. They didn't even think of the housing for a minute at all. It was more or less, how many guys can we keep turning over to get the money? Okay? It's all about the money. But this place was way more organized and had way more connections, networking, and was way more serious about getting guys off the street and into housing. And especially if you played the game, like you had employment, you weren't pissing dirty for like hardcore pills, methamphetamines, and all this kind of stuff. You were on curfew, you did your chores, you had your money put up like they asked you to put your, because you got, fellas, another thing too, when you have employment, you can't be spurging your money. You either got to give them X amount of money every week and they keep it in their account or in the safe, or you have to every week or every 2 weeks go to the ATM or the bank and pull out that receipt with the statement on it and turn it in. I'm for real. You can't just be doing whatever and stashing shit. They keep tabs of everything. Because if you ain't doing whatever, you're out. You're gone. You're done. But like I was mentioning, you have to do housing. In this specific city or county, they have this thing called a coalition for housing. And they offer 2 things that you have to sign up for and go on a waiting list and cooperate, everything. Rapid rehousing, transitional housing. And the rapid rehousing is not really the long-term one. It's more or less for the guys that don't have child support or alimony, guys that just may have had a bad relationship or something happened and they just needed the help for a couple months to save up and then go back out into the real world. The transitional housing is the one that's a little bit more long-term, where they pay a lot of the stuff, usually all the utilities, the water, the rent. You have to show your check stubs. Depending upon your situation with the child support, arrearages, what the garnishments and taxes are, you might be required to pay $0. You might be required to pay $50. You might be required to pay $20. Everyone's different. But eventually, that is, like I said, it's not permanent. You do got to leave that situation and go off on your own. But like I was saying, this is how I learned everything about the food stamps, all of the assistance programs, the housing, everything, guys. So I'm in the shelter, and it's around Thanksgiving. I did get housing. The transitional housing people took me. I got my own place. And this right here, fellas, transparent and open and honest, and I'll take all the insults and all the everything. For lack of a better term, for me to explain it, it's probably the first time that I was seriously set out and gung-ho on absolute solo independence. Like, I didn't know anybody besides my family in this city. I definitely didn't know any women. I wasn't about to be whatever with these idiots in this shelter. And maybe one or two weren't idiots, but the rest were all a bunch of, they're drugs and alcohol. And they want to, come at you because you don't do those things. And they feel like you think you're nah, dude. I don't live my life in crap. I don't want diseases and everything. And I don't want to use and abuse the system because I need the system. But, sheesh. It's crazy. It's everything, man. I learned so much in here. But you got to leave the shelter. You have to leave the shelter, man. You got to. I got my own housing, and here's where the child support. Here's where it hits. So I've learned everything about the system, the homelessness. I've started to learn how to navigate and find avenues on things. You know what I'm saying? Now, the whole time I've told you guys I've had employment. I've been having my child support and my arrearages taken out. Not every check did they take arrearages. Sometimes it would be like every 2 checks or every 3 checks you would see the support. Then you would also see where it says arrears. Okay. How do I put it to you guys? When I went on my own, this right here is when you realize what the world thinks of you. I have my own place, all this. I'm still working. And my checks are useless. I mean, my checks are useless, guys. And I'm also going out of my way to make sure nobody knows my check stubs or even gets my payroll information or nothing. Okay, eventually, the EBT or the food stamp thing, at least in my state at that time, they come out with this thing called a work portal. So they automatically know by your tax number or your social security number if you employed. And they also know if you're no longer considered homeless or in some kind of shelter through the system. Hey, man, they yanked my opportunity to eat like that with a quickness. I managed to get these people to allow me to have less than $100, but it only did it for so many months. So, like, right off the bat, fellas, the whole eating and maintaining whatever to keep working and not nobody knowing was hard. Like, it was rough. And I'm not going to play games with you guys. My whole whatever with the job thing, I knew I had to have food and eat, so I took a job in food because I knew that I couldn't afford to get food on my own once I was on my own. So at least when I was living with my family, my long-term planning was proper when it come to my employment. Because I knew what was eventually going to happen because I've been doing child support for years. I knew eventually that all the assistance or whatever is not going to be here. And I also knew that my family is a piece of crap. So I was already planning on being backstabbed or castrated. But fellas, I mean, that's it. Like, when you guys do not understand this because nobody tells you. When you're out of the shelters and you have employment and you're paying all your stuff, nobody cares. It's over. It is over right there. I'm working at my job, working and working and working. And the whole time I'm on the transitional housing. You have a case manager, all these things. You have to go once or twice a week, just to touch base with them. They might want to see some check stubs. They do come and do apartment inspections just to make sure you're not keeping pizza boxes or cases of beer around. They don't go snooping. These people did not. Like, I'm going to shout them out because God bless both of you. I remember you to the day I die for everything you did for me. Everything. Tiffany Davis and Rennie Bear. I'll never forget either one of you. I never will. Every time you come in my home, you were wonderful to me. You didn't wake me up if I was sleeping because you knew my work schedule. Rennie, I thank you for always being there and listening to me. I thank you for the gift certificates and the gift cards for the grocery stores. I thank you for the bars of soap. I thank you for everything. This is how many years later, man, I still remember both of you. Thank you. I'll never forget that. But, you do what you do. But the thing with the food, man, eventually these people who that the transitional housing and my case manager, they can't always be giving you stuff because there are other people. And then, of course, you've got the other end of these. You've got other workers who are against men and don't want men having anything. So they're getting mad at these two people helping me because they feel breeders of 100 biracial whatever kids are more entitled or more worthy of help than men. So you guys all understand this. But eventually, it come to the point where I had my employer, my case manager, and the last two people of my family who would check on me or kind of had guilt about me being dumped off into a shelter, started to see that I was seriously having issues. Like, I was not healthy as far as like my appearance went, only because the food, my diet, my nutrition. I had to go to JFS. I had to try. I had people begging me, and I actually had somebody at my job tell me, hey, you've got to do something because they're going to start thinking things and they'll suspend you or they'll recommend that you get help. And I didn't want those can of worms opened, you know what I mean? And this is how I know everything, and I know when all you tell lies, and I know when all the conniving, deceiving, manipulative BS is going on. You can't have no food stamps when you have a job. They don't care about child support. I had these nasty, stupid women tell me to off myself or to go work 18 hours or less, and I would be eligible for $110 to $90 a month for food. They don't care. I had my specialist, I had the housing people, I had the shelter, I had all these different people behind me supporting me, showing every bit of money, every single thing to these people. And that supervisor for the JFS of that county literally laughed at me in her cubicle, and she's like, I don't care if you eat or don't eat. If you want this, this is what you do. If not, get out of here. And I was young still. I didn't know a lot of the stoicism or the means to bite my tongue that I do now. I let this stupid lady have it to the point where you know who comes in there and throws me out. And I'm having tears of rage. And I call my family and let them have it. I'm shaming them. I'm telling them everything, putting me in this predicament, and then making me embarrass myself and everything. Nobody cares about men with child support or alimony. The system's not going to help you. You have to be unemployed, or you have to be homeless, or you have to be going through a housing program. And that's the God's honest truth, man. You can't get nothing when you have the job. You can't. It's a lie, and it's a shame that people tell you because they want to see the story that you put out after you've been rejected. It's not because they want to hear good things. The homelessness, man. Yeah. That's how I know all about this. Like, I know how to network it. I know how to do it. And I'm going to tell you guys eventually the other thing I found that homeless too, because, man, you guys, it is unreal. It is unreal, all of this stuff, man, and it's all about money. That's really what it is. It's Russian roulette for money. I want you guys to understand, and I'm going to be as clear as possible with the shelters, the homelessness, and housing. This is literally a lottery. I've been homeless more than 3 times. I've been in more shelters than I care to admit to you fellas because it's degrading and embarrassing. It's a lottery. No experience I've ever been through seems like it's a consistent or there's a whatever way to get the housing. It's like some random algorithm lottery almost. I don't even know how to put words into it. I've seen guys do above and beyond and everything and this and that, but yet be on a corner of the street. And I seen dudes who be shooting needles every hour of the whatever in the bathroom of the shelter come out with $2,000 vouchers for housing. So, like, I don't understand it. I just know how to navigate it, and I know how to do it because I've had no choice, because I refuse to be a druggie, and I don't want to be on. I've been homeless. I can't do it anymore. I'm now becoming your guys' age. I physically can't do it, man. I can't physically do it. Make no mistake, gentlemen, I'm telling you the God's honest truth. They don't care about you. It's all money. Sure, you're going to have caseworkers and you're going to have people that work in the desk and whatever that genuinely care. Some of them might even try to get involved in your personal life for the good and bad reasons. Well, I'm not going to discuss those things because I don't really care about people's physical interactions with whatever. But I'm just being transparent. They will... You also got to remember, I'm telling you, this is 2013 and we're about to be in 2023, so it's almost a 10-year gap. The attitude between 2013 to now, a lot of the places realize why the men are in the shelters. They do realize the stigmatism that everybody being lumped as drug addicts or alcoholics has got to stop. They do see what's going on now and why men are in it. The problem is guys like us aren't speaking up and saying it. When you're getting into a situation, you're not telling the truth. You're twisting it and you're making it out to be something else because you're embarrassed to admit it's over money. If more people would tell these agencies and shelters of why your money's what it is or why you're homeless, things would be a lot different. And the other thing too, with the violence, if more men would open up and tell the truth about the women touching them, that would make a difference too, because these workers aren't being told the truth and their hands are tied behind their back because us as men aren't being open and honest with them. Get over that, man, because I've done this as a freaking kid. As a kid, it's more embarrassing and degrading to admit certain things than it is as a man, because like as a man, whatever, you've learned stoicism, you learn to swallow pride and all these other things. As a kid, it's impossible. But that is the truth, man. They don't care. And the other thing I don't like, the sleeping stuff. When you have a job, the sleep is impossible. They don't care if you sleep or you don't sleep. So some of the expectations of these shelters are not cool, man. And that's why a lot of guys won't go into them. Because if you have a job, you're still not going to be allowed or entitled to your sleep or access to the showers. It's, gentlemen, I'm telling you what it is, man. And look, yes, I'm going to cut to something that I'm going to get into another video. You can get help and you can whatever, but your child support and arrearages are still there, okay, guys? Don't come at me now in the future or whatever and tell me blah, blah, blah about SSDI or about any of this stuff. I am an expert on all of this stuff. Even though I do not have no SSDI, I've literally been in prison with men who've done this. I've been in jail with the men who've done this. And I've also sit there and seen all kinds of stuff about people try to game the system. You can go ahead and do that, fellas, but I'm telling you right now that money still stacks up. It's still there. They may not legally, the way I understand it, be able to come to your door and whatever to you for you not paying. But just because you have unemployment, I think unemployment actually does get deducted. But disability, fellas, you still get that money stacked up. I just don't think because it's a government thing, they can't legally take it out. You have to willingly sign up the paper and do the payments. So that's another thing. I've had enough of people trying to argue with me and tell me whatever. I've been in the system. I've been to prison for this. I know every single thing about this. You're not going to tell me something I don't know. You can make all the stories up you want. At the end of the day, facts are facts, lies are lies. Yes, gentlemen, you can game the system. You can do certain things. But you bet your sweet bottom that money still adds up. The only way I understand you can fix it, possibly if you're on SSDI and certain things, is you get the arrearages dropped. The homeless stuff in the shelters, guys, it's not for everybody. It can definitely get you on drugs. It can definitely get you on alcohol. It can get you into bad things with the bad groups. And fellas, Let's be honest and open here with each other. We all know what demographics go into what programs and everything else. And if you have to go in these situations, heed my words, fellas. Don't get caught up in the wrong in the wrong demographics and the wrong groups. Don't be gaslit into thinking that these people over here are cool with you and whatever because you all in the same kind of living situation or going through a sheltering thing or a homeless thing. I'm here to tell you, man, that's exactly how you get effed up. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're some wannabe rapper or some wannabe thug because you're hanging out with whatever people in the shelter and things seem tight. Don't go doing that and getting whatever, and then when you leave the shelter and you see these same people out in public or in the streets, don't go making them dumb. Don't get into a shelter and start changing your lifestyle and your attitude, the way you talk and dress and everything. Don't go doing stupid stuff like that, fellas. And I'm telling you from being in different homeless shelters in different major cities with populations of more than 200,000. You don't want to do that, man. It's just like when you go to prison. Don't go acting something you're not, fellas. Don't go doing that cultural appropriation nonsense. Don't do it. Homelessness is rough. And fellas, not everybody can get into a shelter. That's just the truth, man. You guys got to understand, we all come from different backgrounds, and some of us got different tendencies, man. And fellas, they will discriminate against you. You better not be having no whatever kind of charges on your record. Better not be messing with kids. Stuff like that, man. They ain't gonna take you. They don't have to take you. They don't. Like, look, the city I live in now has a crazy shelter thing. And even they have limits to where, nah, we ain't gonna take you. I mean, they got a 24-hour-a-day policy where as long as you can get there or whatever, they'll do a thing and let you and give you a plastic mat on the tile floor. No kidding, no exaggeration, guys. I know, I understand everything, gentlemen. To all of you people that have been in the homeless, that have couch jumped, that have everything. I understand, and I understand probably better. Because being through this, I know all the liars. I know all the scams and all the hustles people pull. People will tell you for months on end they don't have friends, families, and things like this, and options and help. The whole time during the day, they've been going to somebody's house and sleeping or smoking pot and playing games or chilling and eating good. And then come back to the shelter the whole time and play games like blah, blah, blah. They got it down bad and out and all this. To the people that really don't have nothing and have been through this, I'm Reviving Real News personally. You have my sincere condolences and my mad respect because I understand, and I did this when I was young. I understand completely what it's like, and I understand the fears, the feelings. I know what it's like to not have the food. I know what it's like to be in a shelter, man, and somebody come kicking your stuff and telling you to get up, screaming, turning lights on. They do it worse in the shelters than they do it when you're incarcerated. You want to call me out on that one? I dare you to call me out on that one. I understand everything, man. That being kicked out at 6:30 in the morning, it's icy, it's sleeting completely. You can't do nothing. You're stuck in it. I understand what it's like. I understand what it's like to have certain material things and you have to throw them in a river or in a dumpster bin because you got to go to a shelter. I understand all of this. I understand what it's like to be the guy at the shelter with no money to go buy cigarettes or go buy a bag of chips. Everybody else is doing good. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be the guy at the shelter without the $1.50 to go throw the clothes in the wash. I know. I know what it's like being the guy in the shelter on the holidays and you the only one, ain't got no family or nobody coming to give you a plate or invite you to go anywhere. And then all the staff sitting there laughing and looking down on you and making their jokes because most of the employees are females. Miss me with the no, they're not. I don't like the homeless stuff, and I don't really like the shelters, and I don't agree with a lot of the stuff and how the programs and how they manipulate it and pick things. But I am man enough and I am humble and grateful enough that I do appreciate the certain people that I connected with as far as the workers and the housing. And I do appreciate the learning experience for myself. Because I would never know about how to get certain things and how it works and who tells lies and who don't. And I'd never know about these housing programs. I'd never know about it. And then I'd also never ever know that the programs don't care for child support. They won't help you. The housing programs won't help you. You guys want me to tell you a little bit more about the housing and how I know they don't care about divorce and child support? Go apply for metropolitan housing. Go apply for Section 8 or HUD or whatever it's called, and go apply for these other things in your city or your county. The subsidized housing, the low income. It's the same thing with the food stamps. Miss me with the "you're full of crap." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going through housing right now. I just told you 2 days ago. I know what the F I'm saying to you. If you are on, let's say, metropolitan housing or that subsidized stuff, or on Section 8, okay? Section 8 is gives you whatever to cover so much of the rent, depending upon the income. Let's say, for example, you get SSDI and you get $900 or $980 a month, okay, and you get a voucher for your rent. You still have to pay whatever out of your SSDI for rent. You got to pay a percentage. It could be $180. It could be $250. It could be $215. Nobody cares about child support or alimony, and nobody seems to ever take me serious or listen because they think they know everything. They've been through more than I have. They've walked a day in my shoes. They put a pair of my socks on. Everybody just knows everything. Be quiet and listen to somebody who's actually done it. Been through this, been laughed at, been kicked in the you-know-what, been spit on, everything. I know what I'm saying to you. You can go do whatever you can do, but ain't nobody gonna ever take in your child support or your alimony. You're done. You're done. You can get whatever money from whatever, but you're still not getting your money. You're either giving it to the child support or it's going towards your housing and your utilities and everything else. I know what I'm talking about. Yes, I am going to break into another part about homelessness, but that's going to be after. That'll be my next chapter. The next video I'm going to do is going to be the part 2 of this, and this is the criminal system. Because as I'm doing all of these things, right, I'm on this adult probation, and never at all anything ever said to me, mailed to me, called, emailed at all about me being in any kind of trouble or needed to do anything. And that's exactly how I know, because I did get in trouble. I did. Of course they knew or had an idea of where I was, because I've been paying for however long now. I missed, 2 or 3 years when I got laid off, and then I got a job before I got into this shelter, and I'd been paying. I just had no clue that these sneak and fellas, make no mistake. I'd already been whatever, and my probation was over. This happened to me in 2012. 5 years, you could figure that out. They come and get me in 2018. And I can tell you it's all about money, fellas. This wasn't that I wasn't paying. This wasn't because I didn't do something, or I didn't turn a piece of paper in, or I didn't report for some visit. This was because I was on adult felony probation. And a felony, when you get an ODR number, a Department of Rehab and Corrections number, depending upon your state, it's like $55,000 to $65,000. So these probation departments in the court systems figured how they could get money out of me, even though I did nothing wrong, violated nothing, and had been paying my arrears and my stuff, because it's on my check stubs. It's on all my check stubs. They know this. They don't care, man. And they effed me up. At that moment when that happened, I lost everything. Every single thing. It was the first I'd been doing stuff on my own without relying on anybody. They take it all, man. They don't care. They don't care at all. Don't care. They extradited me almost 4 hours for nothing. For nothing. Sorry, guys. Homelessness, man. I understand, man. And I am going to have to talk more about it because it all goes into this. I had to do it again, a different situation. And this time I had to go freaking do it with a prison number attached to my name and for the rest of my life. For child support. Yeah. It's a whole nother ball game when you got prison stuff and everything else. It's a whole different animal. Guys, I do understand, man, and I do feel. I do. It's just where I sit today at my age, I just have the real world experience how to navigate this and how to do it to a certain degree, man. So I am well versed in this, and I am well versed in being able to give advice and help people with this stuff. I really am, and that's the sad, I guess it's almost sad to have to be able to honestly admit that you know how to do these things and know how to get certain things or do it. But I do know how to do this. I know how to navigate this to a T. I know who's going to take what money from you. I know how you're going to get housing. I know how to not get housing, how to get food, not get food, everything. Not all shelters are created equal, fellas. I want you guys to always remember that if you have to go do something, man. Not all shelters are equal. Gatekeeping is a real thing. The color thing is very, very real and prevalent. The drugs, all of it, fellas. All of it. The health, people in there, man. I hope nobody goes through it. And if you have to, just know you ain't alone, man. I've been there, done that. And I'm just right now fighting to hope that I don't lose my housing and have to go through it again. I probably am not going to be able to keep my apartment. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But it could be a silver lining. I just need some kind of help to be able to figure this out because I can't do it. I can't. I'm not in a shelter to where I'm going to get help doing this. And this isn't like it was however many years ago, man. This is all after the you-know-what little blah, blah, blah. And it's man, I have no idea. But I am very, very well versed in all of these things. And I hate that I'm versed in it. I hate having experience and knowing it. But it's why I act the way I do in comments or other places. Because I just know when the lies and the BS is there because I've done this and you can't dispute it. I have all my paperwork in a blue folder up on one of my shelves in here. Ain't no one going to dispute or take away my real world experience and what I've lived. I know what I'm saying and I know what goes on, man. And I know certain states and counties have different whatever. So what I'm saying might not be word for word as accurate everywhere. But the overall general message is the same and you can't dispute it or change it. I do understand, guys, the homelessness. I do. I understand everything. They only give you certain time. You might not get housing. I do. They can kick you out when they want to. I understand that. I understand you don't get no sleep. I understand you got to get up at 5:36. I understand you get fed like you know what. I understand it's hard to take a shower because some guys don't. I'm back that. I don't want to be around a bunch of dudes getting clean. Hey, it's Adam and Eve over here, not Adam and Steve, fellas. You ain't got to worry about me when it comes to that. So, I understand all of this, guys. And I think a lot of people would feel more whatever to get help or to try to get help if more people opened up and talked about this. I do understand, fellas, and I apologize for this running long, but this is kind of an important thing because it ties into my story. And the more I listen and see more and more guys that I interact with or whatever have been through this, like homelessness before or on the verge of doing it. So it's relevant to not only my story, but it's relevant to a lot of other people. Because a lot of people don't know how to do this, don't know how to navigate it, don't know the questions to ask, don't know how to get the food, don't know how to get programs and all this stuff.